So, this is Interview with Granny, number 1. What was the house that you grew up in like? Were there any special, how many rooms, bathrooms, did it have electricity, indoor plumbing?
I had no plumbing. We had a cold water tap. And like the living room and the kitchen were all one, almost. No, the living room, that should have been the living room, was my parents' bedroom. And the living space was just the kitchen. And upstairs there were 2 bedrooms, one end of the house for girls and one end for the boys.
Did you have any siblings? Well,
Oh, yeah. I'm the second youngest of 12 kids.
12 kids.
So it was kind of, although it wasn't as crowded as it seems, because the older ones were gone.
That makes sense. So
the
how
younger
many
ones were coming along.
Yeah, how many like brothers and sisters did you actually grow up with?
Oh, Jillian, Shirley, Kenny, Huey, Angus. Probably about 8.
8.
7 or 8.
That still sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is. It was a lot.
Are there any special items in the house that you remember?
No. There was there was really one big homemade chair my father made, and that was the chair we had to fight over to have somewhere to sit. And it was also the coat closet, so everybody's coats were thrown on it in the winter. It was bad.
What is your earliest childhood memory?
Oh God, I can't remember. I guess probably just fighting over the chair, maybe. I don't know.
Really? Did they ever turn...
Fighting with my sister, probably.
Did they ever turn violent?
No, not usually.
Describe the personalities of your family members.
Well, I guess we're all sort of alike. The boys were very funny, except for Huey. He wasn't funny, but he was the nicest of the bunch. But the other guys were very comical. They made fun of everybody. And as long as it wasn't you they were making fun of at the time, they were funny. Otherwise, it wasn't. They weren't so nice.
What kind of games did you play growing up?
Well, we played. You mean indoor games?
Any game.
Well, we used to play snakes and ladders and checkers and things like that, because that's what we'd get for Christmas. Like the whole family would get maybe a game.
Like one board game?
Yeah.
Wow. Now it's always these $60 video games that all the kids get.
That was long before that.
Yeah. What was your favorite toy and why?
You know what? I never had a toy. Well, I did have I always wanted a doll. I must have told this story a million times. And I couldn't, nobody ever gave me a doll. My friends all had, collections of dolls. And anyway, somehow one Christmas my mother managed to get me a rag doll. And I thought I was so lucky. But before I got to play with it hardly at all, the boys had used it for a dartboard.
Oh no.
Completely destroyed it. Now that's a sad story.
What was your favorite thing to do for fun? Like going to the movies or the beach?
We went to as a young kid, we went to the beach all the time. There was a great beach in the deck, and that's where we hung out. And before that, or in the fall, you'd play cops and robbers and climb up trees and hide on the cops that were chasing you and stuff like that.
Did you ever go to the movies?
The odd time, I remember seeing How Green Was My Valley, so I would have been pretty young when that, I think that was made in 1941. So you didn't have movies regularly, but every once in a while at the Masonic Hall they'd bring in a movie, and I remember it was 25 cents to go.
Was that a lot of money?
That was. You had to go around and begged the neighbors for pop bottles and stuff to gather enough money to go to the movies. Yeah.
Did you have any family chores? And what was your least favorite?
Well, I had to wash the dishes, and I had to go to the grocery store after school. I guess the dishes would be the least.
Did your brothers do all the other chores, or?
They did nothing. They
Really?
were the laziest bunch. They never. Well, Huey, the youngest brother, he got very young when he got involved in horses, so he was always gone with it, looking after horses. And that's what he's still doing today.
Did you receive an allowance?
No. The only money we ever got was, like I said, collecting pop bottles.
Pop
and
bottles.
taking them back.
Did you save that money, or did you spend it?
No, we usually scraped it up as we needed it, like to go to a movie or something.
What was school like for you as a child? What were your best and worst subjects?
Well, certainly math was not my strong point, but I liked history, I guess.
Did you partake in any after-school activities?
No, I was in the CGIT, that's a church group for girls, or was. I don't even know if it still exists.
I wouldn't know.
No.
Do you remember any fads from your youth, like hairstyles?
Oh yeah, the page boy with your hair curled under, straight but curled under at the bottom, and poodle skirts were big. I remember that was felt skirts with the poodle dog on it and flared with crinolines underneath it. That was a big rage. Mind you, the rage was over before I ever got one, but that was the biggest rage, yeah.
Who were your childhood heroes?
I don't recall having any heroes.
You didn't look up to anybody?
No, I don't recall anybody sticking out in my mind. I suppose we were interested in Alexander Graham Bell because he lived down the road a ways. So he was a big star when he'd come to Quebec in the summer.
Alexander Graham Bell.
And of course he was gone before I knew, but we always talked about him and thought of what a great guy he had been. My mother certainly remembers him, or did remember him when she was alive.
Did you have any pets?
We had a dog, a dog named Bingo.
Bingo? Was he like a beagle or
He was
Dalmatian?
just a Heinz 57, and a whole bunch of different dogs rolled into one.
Wow. Were you ever mentioned in the newspaper?
Was I ever?
Yeah.
Well, I had my picture in the newspaper when the Alexander Graham Bell Museum opened because I was one of the tour guides on that day for the public, so I had my picture in the paper then.
Ooh. Who were your friends when you were growing up, and do you stay in contact with them still?
No. Effie was my best friend, and I stayed in contact with her for a long time. When we lived in Sackville, she moved to Sackville, and I still talk to her occasionally. She called when Harry was sick and that sort of thing, but we don't keep in close contact. The other girls I've seen off and on over the years, but one of my friends married Huey, my brother.
So, what world events had the most impact on you while you were growing up?
Gosh, I can't think. I was too young to remember the war, that's for sure. I was just being born, but I guess maybe the Korean War, because my brother was in it, and
Wait, Huey?
and my brother Leighton, he would be one of the older boys that had gone away to the U.S. and was drafted
Ooh.
and sent to Korea, and he was wounded there. So that, they just talked about that all the time in the house. It's the only thing I remember being a big deal. Of course, hockey was big, but for the boys.
Describe a typical family dinner. Did you all eat together?
Yeah, we did all eat together. There was never enough food, of course, for everybody.
I can believe that. With 8 brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
You really we used to have to run like hell home from school at noon, because whoever got home at noon got the most food.
Definitely not how it goes at my house.
No, you don't have to worry
There's
about
way
that.
too much. How were the holidays celebrated in your family? Did you have any special traditions?
No, I don't know.
Hmm.
No. Well, there was just no money to do anything special either.
No.
Christmas was very sad because there was never anything for Christmas. Well, there was extra food. That was it. We had fruit for the only time of the whole year that we had fruit was at Christmas. That was the big treat.
How was birthday celebrated?
Not really at all. If my mother was able to, she would make a cake. And some years you got a cake, and some years you didn't.
So that was pretty rare.
It was rare enough that I only really remember one. So yeah, it was rare.
How is the world most different today than it was when you were a child?
Well, just the technology, phones. When we got older, we had a phone line, but it wasn't like a cell phone. And I was a telephone operator, so in those days, you connected people, literally, the operator from one person to another.
Hmm.
When you dialed the phone, you got the operator, and she asked you who you wanted to talk to, and then you'd ring them and connect them up.
Are there any special heirlooms, like photos or Bibles or memorabilia?
Not for my family, no. I don't think so.
When did you meet Grampy?
Well, he was, I guess I was 17. He had just been transferred to Badak in the bank. And it was so rare to have somebody new come to town that the banker was always grabbed up.
What did you guys do on dates?
Well, he had a car, so we drove around a lot. There wasn't much to do in town. We used to go down to Sydney Mines and places like that, which was probably an hour away. And you had to take a ferry to get there, and you'd go to movies. And they had dances at the Masonic Hall. We went to them somewhat.
Where and when did you get married?
We got married in 1959 in a place called Marion Bridge, which was down near Sydney. And that was because we got married by a minister that I looked after his kids when they were little, and I liked him, and he kind of liked me, so we went there.
What memory stands out most from your wedding day?
Oh, well, the memory is his wife was crazy, and she insisted on putting on a lunch for us, and by the time we got there, she had been had one of her bad days, and she did do the lunch, but she was acting very odd, and she had an old torn up dress on. I'll never forget it. Normally she would be very prim and proper lady, but I guess it's what you'd call Alzheimer's now. But that was very sad, and we certainly weren't expecting to see her like that. Harry probably doesn't remember it at all, but it always stuck in my mind. And the minister felt really bad about it, but there was nothing he could do. So.
What do you believe is the key to a successful marriage?
Be easy to get along with, I guess. Very easy to get along.
How did you choose your children's names?
Oh, I don't know. The younger ones, I guess I had a book. The older ones, I don't know why Harry wanted to call Danny after a minister that he knew as a kid. And my father had just died, so we gave him, his name was Chester Daniel, so we named him Daniel after him. And the other names, well, like Sherry and Stephanie came with different names.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie kept as Stephanie, and Sherry was Melinda, so we changed that. We didn't like that name. Changed it to Sherry. And Jeff was just after no one. And Jamie was after no one, just a name we liked.
What was your proudest moment as a parent?
Oh my. I don't know. I guess going to Danny's graduation, he got a whole bunch of prizes. That was kind of nice.
That was important.
Mm.
What did your family enjoy doing together?
When we were little, you mean?
Yeah. Well, no. Like, with Grampy.
Oh. Well, Grampy always had 2 or 3 jobs, and there wasn't a lot of family get-togethers, really. Because he was always in the garage. But, I don't know, the kids would probably remember more about that than I. They more or less did their own thing. I can't think of what we did as family. Well, we went camping in the early days, but nobody like that. So we did that a few summers, and finally we sold the camper and called it a day because after a while nobody wanted to go. They either didn't want to leave their friends, or they hated camping, or they didn't want to go where we were going. So that was the one big experiment we had. So.
What was your profession, and how did you choose it?
I never had a profession, like I said. I was a telephone operator. And then I pretty much stayed home and looked after the kids. And later on I did jobs like sewing and made a little money by making pot holders and stuff like that for a company that shipped them off to the States. And so I worked at in the home doing some things like that a bit.
If you could have had any other profession, what would have it been?
I don't know.
Did you ever have a dream job?
No.
Really?
No. I don't, I suppose I would have probably have gone into cooking or baking or something like that. I did, in fact, I worked as a baker for a couple of years in Halifax, but the kids were older then.
Oh. Yeah. Of all the things you learned from your parents, which do you feel was most valuable?
I don't know what I would have learned from my parents. I suppose from my mother, just sort of running a household. And since that's all I mostly did, I guess that's the most important.
What accomplishments were you most proud of?
I really didn't accomplish much, did I? I guess having the kids not end up in jail.
And what is one thing you want people to remember about you?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to think that they remember me as a nice old lady. But I'm not sure that they would. But I don't think I ever went out of my way to hurt anybody or anything like that.
I don't think you would hurt anybody, Granny.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. Good job, Granny.
Oh, I'm sure you get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Any last words?
No. It's nice that you came and did this, Dad.